the gut punch question. If you're really serious about breaking a multi-generational pattern, then ask yourself the brutally honest question. Because every single real life example of narcissistic abuse of a wounded empath I've ran across, it's a repetition of a familiar relationship, right? It's a reenactment. And I say this from my own direct experience. This is the horrifying question to ask, the deep gut punch question, which helps to prevent and reduce the potential for it to occur again. Don't you get tired of boning your father? And you can rename this to whatever you want. Don't you get tired of boning your mother, right? The reason is it is a revisiting of a family uh, narcissist pattern, right? So whether and the genders will be fluid in the situation, right? So you could be a female with the narcissist mother, and then you move on to a narcissist partner, right? As a male. You could be a male, in my case, with a narcissist father and exchanging that 20 years later for a narcissist girlfriend. And they would obviously have very different manifestations of narcissism, but the same roller coaster would repeat itself. And it would repeat itself. It may not repeat perfectly, but it will certainly rhyme. And that is the shocking realization that should bore a hole in your memory, in your head, in order to not repeat a cycle, to really break a cycle and be honest about it. So my father, an overt narcissist, lower lesser, we should say. You have perpetual stress and the push-pull, right? So in childhood, it was always catch a beating for no reason whatsoever, no discernible reason. Looked at him wrong tone of voice, didn't say yes sir, no sir, constantly on edge, right? Constant low level stress. And that is a great foundation of what the narcissist relationship evolves to. So, obviously, so in the later life relationship, the girlfriend situation didn't start out with constant low level stress. It started out with this golden period of infatuation, and you're at ease with each other. And gradually, so they put you on a pedestal and they gradually, inch by inch, take you down from that pedestal and put themselves up on the pedestal, right? And in that process, the old familiar constant low level stress represents itself, right? Reemerges. Clever girl, just as you think you're getting out of the constant perpetual low level stress, it reemerges. And so that is the extremely fascinating thing to see as you look back and reflect on how history repeats itself and where things mirror each other. And so the ever present constant low level stress was the ambiguous criticism of, I can't feel your heart. Well, what does that mean? I'm emotionally disconnected. Well, plausibly, Except no other relationship has ever told me I was emotionally disconnected, right? That's very odd for my disposition, which is very emotionally oriented, right? To be accused of being emotionally disconnected. Well, how? But it can never be really defined, right? Constant low level stress in order to keep you in the disposition of always trying to please them and them never being pleased. But they want you to always try a little more, do a little more, do a little more. If you only did a little bit more, then I would love you. And if you don't do a little more, I will abandon you on the street, right? Uh, but it's a quasi reality as a child of a narcissist that you have a natural bond with your parent, and there's a physical reality that really makes that a potent relationship because you are dependent upon them for your physical existence, your day-to-day existence. And plus their consciousness is the most ever-present energy. Their disposition is what you know about the world, right? It is a massive influence on your disposition. And so the old familiar push-pull returned in a brand new way, in a much better looking package, with sexuality now in the narcissist, hypersexuality, to help kind of soothe the wounds of the narcissistic injury now. So absolutely less obvious, but more and more apparent as the sustained devaluation continues, intensifies, and then finally the discard. And then and as that devaluation accelerates, the more and more you realize what you're dealing with in many cases, in most cases. So ask yourself the hard, brutal question. Emotionally, you are in a sexual relationship with one of your parents' energy. You are replaying that history. And you look at that with humor, look at that with disgust in order to remember the lesson. Because it's not a pattern you want to pass on or even live, right? It's a pattern you want to evolve out of. So ask yourself the Freudian question of how your narcissist relationship was a mirror of your narcissist mother or father. Thanks for listening.